hello from Adelaide at the IAGS conference, and I've got Sam Scher with me. Big fan.
Bigger
so
fan.
Good having you here.
Thank you.
So you've come all the way from North America to sunny Adelaide. What brought you here?
I am such a big fan of geochemists, geochemistry.
Yes.
No, what I do for work is I am a geochemist. I also throw in some hyperspectral into there, but that's just also building on to the theme. And so we have this conference every 2 years, and it also just gives me an excuse to travel to some place that I don't usually go to.
That's awesome.
And I have lots of Aussie friends, so it's going to be great. I'm going to here for now. I'm going to hang out with all you guys this week, and then head off to Melbourne to see some people, to Sydney, take a picture in front of the Opera House. So, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Just having fun.
I love
it. And getting into geochemistry in the first place, what has taken you on that path to become a geochemist?
Such a good question. So the university that I went to McGill, which is in Canada, and I don't think I realized it at the time, but actually the department there was quite geochemistry heavy.
Yep.
So I had this kind of natural affinity for it. I did a master's right after my bachelor. It was like volcanoes, ore deposits, geochemistry. And that for me really solidified just how interested I was in the field. And then after that, it just became, okay, what's the difference between academia and being in industry, and how do we kind of change a little from going like, 100%, 110% to more of like this 80-20 thing. And that just started a journey where at the time I was taking these courses by IO Global, which was then bought by Index, but it was this big consultancy of geochemists. And I took a bunch of their courses and was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And then I was, it was really hard to get a job for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got this offer to go down to Chile to be a geochemist for this private exploration company. Got some mentorship while I was there. And I don't know, ever since then, that kind of was really what started the whole thing. But it was just, nothing was ever easy, but it was just, I don't know, pretty stubborn. Like, it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And every time I got a little bit more deeper into it, I was like, nah, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And you've now even started your own geochem podcast, Geochemistry. I love the tea.
Love the tea.
Share some tea.
Yeah, spill it.
How long have you been doing it for?
So I started about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, I had kind of made this decision that I wanted to leave the company I was working at because I was really interested in taking this tech and trying to implement it for clients on a more kind of consulting style, which that company wasn't interested in. It wasn't their business model. So I had decided, okay, well, let's do this. Let's do hyperspectral. Let's do geochemistry. I can offer that as a service, and let's try and make go of it. Well, the first 6-8 months, it was just, it's very light on the work, we'll say.
Yeah.
But in that time, I had also been thinking about, like, how do I give back? And, I'm not particularly old here, but even still, I just feel it just was always my due to help out 25-year-old Sam. My name is Sam. So, and in really also around that time, we had I lost one of my mentors, Peter Winterburn, in like a tragic accident. And it was just kind of like, how do I honor his memory as well? And he was a friend to many people that are here as well. So, I was in the shower, as one is when they have the best ideas.
Yeah, the best places for shower ideas is a thing. Yeah.
It's a real thing. And I just kind of had this thought, and I just really fleshed it out. I took an extra long shower, and I was just thinking, okay, how do I do this? And that was also just kind of how I got the structure of it together too, where I knew that there was a part in the beginning that was going to help out 25-year-old Sam, which was, how do I keep going? Like, how do I get into the industry? How do I continue in the industry? And so the first part's that. Second part's all about the tea, make us more human so that people feel like they can approach us
Yeah.
at a conference or write us a message on LinkedIn or anything, make us accessible to help with them and mentor them.
Yeah.
And then the last part is just who's ever my guest on the show. It's the largest part of it. And I just pick a topic that they're really interested in, whether it's a more of a soapbox kind of thing, or it's about geochemistry and ore deposits. It's all about telling their story about what they find interesting, giving people some maybe reference material to read, and just taking them on a bit of a journey through something that my guest finds really interesting, which inadvertently, because we're geochemists, I also do too.
Yes.
Except when it's isotopes, and I'm like, oh my God.
I don't know. None of that made sense to me.
Fine.
So yeah, you're in a whole new world. I'm on a big learning curve this week into the geochem world, which is really fun. But I totally feel you with like all the stuff that I've learned, all the value of like that content and guidance and accessibility of like this sort of stuff, like all the things I've learned with GeoHUG and all the impact that it's had on the industry. I imagine you feel the same and find the same with like the content that you're making of like, it really does help other people and,
No, totally. I think, and you probably have had the same experience as well. So now 3 years in, like I have much more work, which is great. Go me.
You.
But, what it does is like, it's just like, oh man, like, because one of the hardest things for me, and I can imagine it's just exponential for you because you do so many more episodes a week, a month than I do. Some of the hardest things can be just getting guests and lining up the times and the interview and everything. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, is this like even worth it anymore? And then I'll just receive from people like a message on LinkedIn or something like that. And just them telling me even just a thank you.
Yeah.
But I've had people that have just written to me about how much it's helped them. I've had people at this conference that have just shared with me like their own stories, and like that for me is just like, well, I can't stop now.
No.
Yeah.
Not.
So never. I'll just not sleep on Sundays or whatever. Just
get it
do
done.
the podcast. Get it done.
Get it done. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It is a big commitment, but it is worth it.
It's worth it. And it's funny. It's like to an extent, it's not ego necessarily that is being fulfilled. It's more of just this, I guess, satisfaction that it's actually helpful to somebody. Yeah. And look, when I do these interviews too, like I learn a ton and I totally take advantage of it. Just learning about how people do certain things or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's a good thing to implement in my own, work or something. But, just knowing how it helps people is just so rewarding.
Yeah. I'm curious on your perspective of getting more people into geochemistry, because some of the things I've been learning today is like everyone's journey into geochem has been quite different and it's not always an obvious path to take. So I'm really curious, when you keep thinking about 25-year-old Sam, what do you think it means to bring people in and how to get them here?
So we have a panel coming up on Friday, I think, where I'm going to be talking about this too. And I definitely have that one much more fleshed out. So we're just going to maybe have the abbreviated version here.
100%.
Let's see if I can remember.
Yeah.
No, but I think the biggest problem is, there's not a lack of interest by young people. And that's like the biggest misunderstanding that we have right now in this conference, in our industry. That is not true. Categorically not true. People are interested. People are hungry. They want to do this. The problem is that mining companies do not value geochemists. Anytime that there is a reorg or a budget cut, like the first thing that gets removed, not just geochemists, but technical teams, those specialists. And it's just shocking to see each time it happens, but also not, because in the past 18 months, I've seen it happen twice in major mining companies. So that, coupled with the fact that there's no, say a geochemist will leave, there's not typically a backfilling of a position. There's also, say for a company of these technical teams, the amount of geochemists that they have is tiny. They can't even service like all the different projects where they're needed. And yet there's this whole thing where there's just this inability to fund more people to come in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why am I a consultant? Yeah, number one, I didn't necessarily want to move to Tucson or to Denver, to Toronto, Vancouver. Like, I didn't really want to move. I was happy, living where I live. But it was also just like the first time that, people do a reorg, there's a little bit of a bear market. The first time that happens, I'm the one that's going to lose my job first. So I was like, well, if I start doing consulting, I'm not an overhead for the company. So even though the daily rate might be more than, they imagine that they would pay for somebody internally, I'm actually much less expensive. So what I have to do right now when we're in a decent market, or hopefully a better one coming up, is I just have to get into vendor systems so that it's easy for people to just kind of be like, oh, we know Sam's available and she can help us.
Yeah.
And so it's not ego driven that I was like, oh, let me have my own company. No, it's hard.
Yeah.
I was going to drop a bomb there, but like, well, it's fucking hard. But, but it's not easy. It's not necessarily what I wanted. I would love to have more mentorship. I know I look better, but I'm 37 years old.
Yeah.
I would love to have more mentorship. I would love to an extent. I don't miss the HSEC meetings, but I would love to be in a bigger company, but I just don't trust them. And I think they need to work harder at helping not only geochemists, but other technical specialists, structural geologists, geophysicists even, the natural enemy of the geochemists, but they have to make us feel more valued and reward us for the good work that we do, not overwork us, like treat us like normal humans, and then also just not fire us immediately.
Yeah.
Like all this is really important. And, there needs to be space for more of us. So how do we get more young people into our industry? At this point, they're completely right to not even want to try. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big obstacle.
I know. Very heavy for late on a Monday.
Okay, so
we can lighten this up. To ask me what is on my arm or something.
I know. Well, yeah. Is that a cat?
If you guys can have a look. Me and if anybody knows her, me and Karen Gardner got from Ned Howard. We got these cool cat tattoos from Kirkland Lake. So thank you, Evolution Mining.
That's fun.
Yeah. I love cats.
I love that.
Yeah.
I am talking on Friday afternoon, and I may or may not have a slide about cats.
Oh my God.
So watch this space.
Watch this space. If you need some additional photos of cats for this, I'm
Yes.
happy to donate pictures of my 2 cats.
I love the pictures of your cats because I remember when you came on GeoHUG and your profile picture was you and your cat. What was your cat's name again?
So my original cat is Mr. Darcy,
Yes.
and I just adopted a kitten to be companion to Mr. Darcy, and I named her Pemberley after, in the book, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Pemberley's Mr. Darcy's estate. So it's like a whole other nerd fest.
I love this.
But yeah.
So many things to learn about you, Sam.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today. It is brilliant seeing you here in Australia. Cannot wait for the next few weeks with you. And yeah, thanks.
Thanks for having me.